Welcome to episode 20 of the
Binte.
Ozheads podcast. And
20.
a milestone. It only took us 3.5 years to do
Okay.
it. But
How long did it take?
yeah, we're averaging one episode every quarter. And here we are. So back from Briarworks. Last one we shot with Pete at Briarworks.
Yeah.
And Nashville traffic is so bad. We just got back last week from there.
That's
and,
right.
Boom.
But we need an encounter. We need to bring some more Canadian guests on here because that was a pretty
Number
popular
one most views is our
Yes.
friends from Canada.
People talking about like restrictions.
I know.
Who knew?
Go figure.
Let's get more people to talk about restrictions here.
I know. So episode 20. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, I guess,
Cigars.
cigars would be
New
a good
cigars.
starting point.
New cigar sprinkles.
New cigars. It's
We
been
sprinkled
a
the cigars.
pretty active period here.
Yeah.
So
what's new? What are the new?
What's new?
You have a couple of new cigars.
we've had a
came
few.
out.
We've had a few. We'll talk about a few in particular, but we've started off with Paniolo, which is the Hawaii exclusive.
Yeah.
We did that. We did Wabash Cannonball, which was for Casa de Monte Cristo. That was an exclusive for them.
So that's just for all of the Casa de Monte Cristos.
All the Casa de Monte Cristo. So
Wabash
yeah,
Cannonball.
so 4 years ago we did one just for Nashville CDM,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and then we resurrected Wabash for the nationwide
So-
22-3 stores. Something like that.
Can I just say that Wabash Cannonball, when I was growing up, I used to go with.
Did you
my-
ride it? Were you?
Of course, I went with my family.
There
That
you
was
go.
a big thing. There used to be Opryland over here, an amusement park in Nashville, kind of close to the airport where Opryland is now.
Right.
And it was an amusement park, but the ride that everybody was afraid of was the Wabash Cannonball.
There you go.
So is that why you named it Wabash
Exactly.
Cannonball?
So that when they approached us in 2020 to do something, they said Nashville centric.
Yeah.
I went down the rabbit hole and said, okay, what's Nashville centric and old school Nashville? That was way before
Yeah.
I was still a kid running around in San Francisco at that time.
So did you ever ride the Wabash Cannonball?
I didn't move here until 90.
Really?
5, 6, 4.
So it was a roller coaster that was white, and the big thing at the time was that it had that final loop before you had to exit.
Did you actually go upside down?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I went in there.
Sign
I
of
mean,
its times.
I don't know if like my dad did it with me. My dad, near there was the area that you could win all those stuffed animals with all those games.
See,
so-
I never even. It wasn't even Opryland when I moved here.
Yeah, so I mean, they had skee ball over there, and then they had the one that you would like shoot whatever, like the pins to get like the big stuffed animals. So one of those, of course, my father liked skee ball because he's like, if you hit it at an angle, at a 45-degree angle, the ball will ricochet and go into 50. Like whatever.
He had it rigged.
This is the classic John Owen.
He knew the physics of it. Broke it
Do you
down.
know what do you call it? Skirt ball, skee ball, whatever.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so Wabash Cannonball was a classic.
Yeah, so that's why it was named what it was named. So we did that. So we did Paniolo, Wabash.
Full-bodied?
Yeah, San Andreas wrapper. The first one we did for Nashville, Ernesto made it. And then this one, Aradio made this one.
Mm-hmm.
We beefed up the size a little bit, but got that out. Then
What
we
size
did,
is it?
It's a 5 7/8 by 52. The original was 5.5 48, which I love that size.
Mm-hmm.
Bolivar called it a super Corona in Cuba, and I just fell in love with that size. But it's too small for today's market, so I made it a little bigger. Then we went on to Las Calaveras Decimo Aniversario for the 10th anniversary of Las Calaveras.
That's a totally different blend than the
Different blend than the
regular-
2024. Yeah,
Okay.
it just basically commemorated the 10 years of doing it with the Garcias.
Is it how would you describe it compared to the one that
It's basically
was
it's based on the
released?
original blend in 2014. Habano Escoto wrapper, Nicaraguan binder filler, pretty simple basic stuff, but it's a little bit modded version of the original blend. And we packaged that in 10 count boxes, and
how
that-
many boxes?
2,500.
Hmm.
So was that 25,000 if I'm doing my math correctly? A little Rain Man action there. And then
Definitely.
Belgian Blue. Belgian Blue was also an Aradio project. Stronger cigar. I'm actually smoking the last pre-release I have of that cigar, the Belgian Blue. That came out 2012 counts, and then as we speak and record this, the TAA exclusive boxes are being delivered to Casa Carrillo. Those will be packaged. We'll probably get them out early December, and that should put a
What is
bow
that?
on
What
it.
is that blend like?
Man, that's got it's all over the board. So like Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Pennsylvania broadleaf.
Oh,
It's-
Pennsylvania broadleaf
Yeah,
is
it's
the
broadleaf.
wrapper.
No, in the filler.
In the filler.
The wrapper's Havana.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, and that was a really small batch. That was only like 520 counts. So for the TAA.
When is that
but-
shipping?
Should be early December. We should be getting it
Okay.
in. We were going to get it in the end of this month, but this month is running close.
So then, Decimo is out.
Decimo's
Belgian
out.
Blue
Belgian's
is
out. Paniolo's in Hawaii. It's out. Casa de Monte Cristo has all the Wabash.
Has the Wabash. When did they get shipped that?
That was early November. Actually, they had it. They announced it early November. They've had it in the warehouse since October.
Okay.
So, and if I'm leaving anything else out, I apologize. There's a couple like one-off catalog projects that Miguel threw at me that I had to do, but those aren't really like as big a scale as any of those. And on your end, pie.
Well, on your end has just been my end has just been pie brown.
Pie brown.
You know, so what's interesting about that is that you have a discussion of like what does a color taste like? You know, because the concept is synesthesia is a condition that most people don't have, although it's like creeping more into like I hear more and more people talking about like some like things inspired by synesthesia, which is interesting. Where did I hear one recently?
I heard an interview with Pharrell Williams. And
that's where I heard
referenced it. Pharrell, I think he's got synesthesia.
He does?
I think he does because I was listening to an interview with him.
He's running
Louis Vuitton, LVMH, but he's the creative director for Louis Vuitton now.
That's where it must have been. I think that he was on Fallon.
Okay.
And he mentioned synesthesia on Fallon, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, you hear it more and more. Like I didn't know what it was for now it's kind of like in popular lexicon. People really kind of know.
Yeah, so a lot of people didn't know what it was. I mean, like, but basically it's so if I say a number to you, you think of a color.
Right.
Or you think of a musical tone, which actually is the most common when people have synesthesia, which is kind of, I thought it would be color would be the most common, but it's musical tone, according to some psychologist friends of mine. And then the other one could be flavor. So, Jono thought that, my late father thought this would be interesting concept to paint around. So he liked the number pi because it was an infinite number. So being a mathematician, he was fascinated by that. So he's like, well, I will do my own synesthesia pi. I will make 3, the number 3 yellow, the number 1 red, the number 4 brown, and so,
That's as far. It's funny you stop there. That's as far as I know with pi. 3.14, and then it's like
3.1. I think it's like 3.1415, something like this. So
I get to 314.
So then he would paint them based on, at first he would just paint the colors in these squares, and then he decided to add a measurement to these colors. So he would make 1 3 inches, a 3-inch square. Therefore, like 9 was like, a 3, was like 9 inches. So you would multiply it by that number, and then you would have these like different measurements. So we have one piece that's on our conference room like wall over where it used to be CAO. Now it's Ozarts. And so we took that artwork and put it on the band. And so then the idea is, all right, so then when I was working on Bosphorus, there was someone that was working on it with me that said, oh, I have synesthesia, but mine's more around flavor. And then I said, okay, well, can we make a cigar that looks and tastes yellow? But I remember at the time they were very excited. Yes, we will have plenty of samples. I will have it in the morning. And the samples are like all these Maduros. And I was like, dude, it's gotta like look yellow too. It can't just, it doesn't look yellow. That looks black. So
what is yellow about a Maduro to you,
nothing.
my friend? Yeah.
And so then we put a Connecticut wrapper on it. And so now the interesting thing has been like a lot of people that I'm working with, in this case Ernesto, are like, this is kind of a fun concept because I've never had to work with the challenge of trying to make something taste like a color. So it's been a fun thing to work on. Like
after yellow was red,
level.
right?
We did red.
Red was like a no-brainer. It had spicy, bold.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we did brown.
The brown was interesting to me because I'm like, what does brown taste like? Like red and yellow, I can kind of get light, spicy, that kind of a thing. But
well, with the brown,
earthy.
Yeah, we wanted the brown obviously to taste like the good brown, not the bad brown. So I mean, you're looking at this tastes like shit. I
think earthy chocolate notes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you want it to be like more sort of like cocoa, coffee, chocolatey.
But I get what you're saying about the art on the band, which I think is a really
Yeah.
inventive and creative idea to use that application on the band.
And actually, the wrapper on it is a Mexican San Andreas, but from a lower priming. So after fermentation, it has more of a milk chocolate color.
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a
Like a dark oscuro.
that's
heavy.
right.
Yeah, I like
Because we
that.
have on our Oz Family Cigars, our Amos blend is a Mexican San Andreas from a higher priming, so therefore it's
It's
darker.
darker.
Yeah.
Much. Yeah.
So when I mean, this is more of like a medium-bodied smoke, but it has like interesting, nice kind of flavors on it. We decided to make the box. We started off by making them purple, but because my father had these books that he did, at the outside of them, he had a sleeve that was purple, but and we're like, let's just make the whole thing the primary color.
Mhm.
But it'll be interesting once you get into like, I think the next one is blue.
It is.
So what do you
interesting.
do with blue? I mean, you know,
The only thing-
you're not gonna like dye a cigar blue. I mean, that's
Or
ridiculous.
just what taste is that kind of?
That would be like a. I mean, I think of like like menthol, but I mean, obviously that would be terrible in a cigar. So you
No.
don't want to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can't do that. You know, we don't want to flavor it. It's just natural with the tobacco. Probably a cooler smoke.
Probably.
You know.
The only thing I can even come close to equating with that is when we did Headley Grange back in 2012, whatever it was. And the concept for that was based on a sound. It was like these drums sounded. I wanted the cigar to taste and feel like the drums sounded on this particular song. And that seemed like so foreign at that time. And maybe I got synesthesia. I don't know. But Ernie got it. Ernesto got it. He understood it implicitly. But like I was pitching it to Condor. He's like, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. I was like, oh, what are you talking about? And I said, what? And I said, I played the track for Ernesto. And he's like, I understand what you're saying. So I was like, thank God. I was like,
Maybe
you
he
get it.
has synesthesia.
Maybe. I don't know. And so it was funny.
Yeah, so that'll be like, and then you get into green. The obvious thing is like candela, but I mean, like, do people smoke candelas now?
Yes,
I've
they
been-
actually do.
Do they?
There's
What's
been
like-
like around St. Pat's Day, you'll see everybody come out with like a Candela cigar. I've never smoked a Candela cigar to this day, but like
Hmm.
I know Alec Bradley does like the Filthy Hooligan. I know Dion did a Candela that was supposed to be
Is
really
it all
good.
candela, or do they tend to be like barber
I
poles?
have no idea. I don't know. That's not my forte. But yeah, people. I mean,
They have
it's
one that is
seasonal.
a. They have
Seasonal
one
type of thing.
that is a big ring gauge too that I've seen. That's called the Ogre. That is
Is that an All Saints cigar?
no that
It's a little inside joke. Sorry. Love you, Mickey.
no,
Anyway.
this is what's the name of the company that does all the big ring gauge cigars?
Asylum.
Asylum. It's an Asylum Ogre.
Hmm.
And that's a barber pole that has candela in it. Candela and a darker wrapper.
Got you.
So
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know. I mean, you could give us your comments and thoughts about candela. I've been doing these behind the blend events in different cities,
Mhm.
and I did one in Milwaukee last week, and there was a gentleman there that was smoking a candela. I mean, he's a pretty serious cigar smoker. I mean, he's smoking a lot of cigars, but you know,
The only
he liked the
Candela
candela. He liked that kind of. You haven't tried it? It's got this kind of.
grassy.
It's got this vegetal taste, almost like like a steamed broccoli type of a thing.
I know Dion at Illusion did one a few years back that got a lot of critical praise for it. I never got to try it. But
Was it a limited edition
I
thing?
don't know. I'd have to Google it or something. I'm not sure even what it was called, to be honest with you. But I mean, he doesn't miss.
I think Fuente has a candela.
Did they really?
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That used to
And
be
La
the thing
Flor
back
Dominicana- La Flor
like in the
Dominicana has a
70s and 80s.
Candela?
Like Candelas were a thing, I guess. Supposedly, I don't know. La
Well,
Flor,
back
I
in the
don't
day,
know.
back in the day, Thompson did one that was called the Iguana. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I
That
do
actually, I think,
remember
was
that.
pretty popular for them. This Iguana cigar.
I don't
So
know.
I don't know. I mean,
I think blue will be more of a challenge. I just don't know what is blue. Or you just make a damn good cigar and put it in, and say this is the blue pie synesthesia. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that literal, I guess. at
I
some
don't know.
point.
I mean, that kind of makes me think of like Miles Davis kind of blue, which I would have to say, as I get older, I think Miles Davis to me is like one of my favorite artists of all time.
Really?
Yeah, who's your favorite? Let's say musician. Who's your favorite kind of? Like, if you had, some people ask an interesting question. Like, if you're on an island, you're deserted on an island. You
Yeah.
have to have like one album.
Oof.
What album would you pick to
Damn,
have? And
that's hard.
actually, for me now, I've decided I'm going to pick "Kind of Blue" by Miles Davis. It's only like, I mean, it's not that many songs that are on there. I mean, I want to say there's like 6 songs on that album.
Huh.
But I mean, they're longer with the exception of like one. But I mean, it has a lot of kind of coloration first of all, the album's called Kind of Blue.
Mhm.
Then he has one song that's called like Blue in Green. That's a great. I mean, all the songs are excellent on it, right? But I don't know. Whenever I like to cook and stuff like that, and I want to unwind, I'll put on that album and just listen to the whole album, have it on repeat, and just
When I was in college,
relaxes me.
my parents sent me a care package. I remember back in those days, and in that care package was a cassette tape that my father had made of Miles Davis sketches in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to like broaden my musical, awareness, whatever. I guess at the time, and I never got into. I put it in my little ghetto blaster, and I played, and I was like, "The hell is this?"
See
I'm
that?
like,
Yeah, that
I
one.
never got into it.
But that one is the hardest one to get into to me because that one is like him performing with an orchestra,
Mm.
right? So, and I'm like more of a purist. Like I want tenor sax, I want the stand-up bass or cello or whatever you call it, and I want it to be like straight jazz. I don't
Yeah.
want any instrument. I don't want any sort of non-traditional orchestras. I don't want to. That just to me is not straight ahead jazz. And I'd rather have like
I
straight ahead jazz. So Kind of Blue, I think, is like
maybe I'll
more of a
listen to
pure.
it.
You
I don't
probably
know.
would like that. That's easier to get into than Sketches of Spain.
I just
Not
I go
that I'm a-
random. I'm like I'll be driving. I'll just say, "Hey Siri, play." Should I stay or should I go by the Clash? And then or I'll say, "Live at Budokan, Cheap Trick," or just
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Travis Scott or something. So I'm all over the board. I could never. Somebody pinned me down. I could never say, "This is the one album I'll listen to the rest of my life." It's impossible for me. It's just so all over genres and everything except for country. Ironically, like we live in Nashville, and I'm like, that's the only genre that I won't listen to on a regular basis is country.
Same with me. Although
A little bit of Morgan Wallen though. I will listen to Morgan Wallen. My
I
wife
found-
turned me onto that.
really, I found I like
good.
the I like actually outlaw country.
Yeah, like Waylon Jennings,
Willie
back
old
in
school Willie
old school
Nelson.
stuff. Yeah, that's kind of good. Once in a
Yeah,
while, I'll get in
Waylon
the mood for
Jennings, Johnny Cash.
that. Cash is great. I will go Cash.
Who else? Actually, like Hank Williams Sr.
Yeah,
There's some good stuff too, and some stuff like I don't know. I like some of the old George Strait stuff too, actually. Although I'm not sure if that probably is not considered outlaw country. Stapleton is a bit like in that kind of
yeah. I never
mode.
got into it. I saw him at the Ryman for like
Who?
5 years. Stapleton.
Oh, you did when? 5 years ago.
Maybe even more than that. I can't remember. But I took Laura and my brother-in-law, her brother.
This was before he's. I mean,
This was right when he had done
big-
Tennessee
really
Whiskey.
big
He was
now.
just blowing up. He was right on the verge, and everybody was like mesmerized. And I fell asleep.
Oh, really?
I swear to, it's like you're in those pews. You're like in this church pew. You just kind of,
Dude,
and I was
those
just
are
like-
so like uncomfortable. How could you fall asleep
I
in the
just
pew?
fell asleep, dude. I was out. And then Laura had to like give me one of these to wake me up. And I was just like,
Wow.
it's like
So
falling
I went-
asleep at the Ryman is like going to see the Pope and then falling asleep. And everybody's like, oh, wake him up.
So I went to see this band at the Ryman called Dawes. Have you heard of these? These guys are great. They're from L.A. They're folk. And when Letterman retired, he requested 2 bands, I guess, to play. And one was U2,
Okay.
and the other one was Dawes, Dawes.
Wow.
And he was saying these guys make music like they're like just straight ahead, just well written songs, like interesting lyrics. Rock and roll, but more folk end of rock and roll. So anyway, they played at the Ryman. I went to see them, and they had Brad Paisley come out
Huh.
and play a song with him.
I'll be damned.
And I don't know, Paisley's a very good guitar player. I mean, I guess
I didn't know that.
But he also likes cigars. Do you remember weren't we friends with what was the name of the guy that was Paisley's
He was
road
initially
manager?
Chris Marcy.
Whatever
yeah.
happened to him? He used to come
Ironically-
over and hang out quite a lot over here
Yeah,
back in the CAO days.
He is the reason why I moved where we moved. We were basically neighbors. Now his brother, who still is with Brad Paisley, he's like a tour manager and band everything. He's like his right arm. He lives right across from us in the backyard, kind of a thing.
Oh, so Marcy told you to move there?
Yeah, we went out there to visit him one time. Like, wow, this is great, but it's so far away. How did I was kind of giving him a hard time about it, and then like 6 months later, Laura and I moved out there. But yeah, that's how
What's he doing now?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Chris in forever.
But he's no longer.
He moved
working
away.
with-
He moved out of that house, and
out of Nashville, or he's in Nashville?
the last I heard from him years ago, he had moved into East Nash, but he doesn't live in our neighborhood anymore. So
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he brought Brad by CAO when CAO
Oh,
was
he
still
did?
on. Yeah, when CAO was still on
But I
Osceola.
wasn't there.
This is way back. Like I'm talking 97 maybe.
Nice guy?
Super nice guy. At that time,
He seems like he's down
he
to earth
hadn't
guy.
blown up at all. He just came by to pick up some cigars, and he was a super nice guy. And
But I remember I was living in LA at one point in time, and they wrote an article about him.
in Cigar Aficionado.
No, but they also wrote one in LA Times,
Oh, okay.
and they said that they went on a walk with him, and he lit up our cigar. He lit up CAO Laniversary Maduro,
Mm-hmm.
and was smoking that. I think that then we got in touch with him after that, or probably you got in touch with
Well, I
him.
think Chris got in touch with me before that. And at one point, I remember Kendall, Chris's brother, who's still with Brad, contacted me a few years back and said, hey, Brad's going to be on the cover of Cigar Aficionado magazine.
Yeah, which Cigar Aficionado traditionally doesn't have a musician on the cover.
No. And so he
You know?
did it. He says he's going to do an interview. He was like, give me some merch and cigars and he'll talk up the brand. And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem, whatever. And so, like, after they did the interview, I texted Kendall. I'm like, how did the interview go? And he says, oh, Brad was talking you guys up. This is when we were crowned heads at that time. And he's like, talked you up and you wore the hat and everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. 2 months later, the issue hits the stands and Brad's on the cover. I'm like, this should be good. I go and I see the picture of Brad. He's got a Four Kicks trucker on and they ghosted the image out. They completely blurred it out intentionally. I'm like reading the thing. Not one mention. It had all been edited out completely.
Obviously, you weren't advertising.
No. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that's how it is. But
yeah, that's
but he's still, as far as I know, he's a big cigar guy. That and chocolate. What's that chocolate drink? Yoo-hoo. He was big into Yoo-hoo. I remember that too. Chocolate. Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, but I was surprised he came on stage and then he started. We just played one song with him. He sang it.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
And then they did something like then he leaves, and they said there's only one way to follow that up. I need to pick like 4 musicians from the audience to come up here and play our next song. So like they're like, who's a good bass player? And then like people raise their hand.
Like everybody in the audience is like,
yeah, there are a lot of musicians there. So he picked one guy who plays the drums, and the drummer was like, you know, it was a woman. She was awesome, and she's like, yeah. So they had her on the drums.
Jeez.
And then they had someone else come up and play electric guitar, and they played, you know, one of their more well-known songs. I think it was called like, maybe it was called "Things Happen" or something like that. So they played that song, and
that's amazing.
People from the audience,
yeah,
who
just
knew
that's
song.
Nashville. Like, oh yeah, I play, and they're all just great
But
musicians.
part of it is like they had to have like.
You think that was staged a little bit?
I don't know, man. Like, how can they just get up there and play a tune out of the blue? But I guess if anywhere you could do it, it would be Nashville,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
you
could,
so
where
much
else could
talent
you
in
do
this
that?
city. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Last night was CMAs, actually. Speaking of talent, so I mean, anybody was probably in town for that award show. Shout out Jeff Bridges for butchering Morgan Wallen's name. Morgan Wallen finally gets Entertainer of the Year, which I admit I do like Morgan Wallen. I'm a fan. And he's announced and the winner is Morgan Whalen. And I'm like, what? I was just like, I couldn't believe it.
Does he like cigars? Doesn't he?
I don't know. I
I
know he does.
I think he does because didn't Wes like get him cigars?
We used to do all that stuff, but the walkout, which you could talk a little bit about this, the UT Alabama game, the cigar game,
Yeah.
right? So,
oh yeah, I saw something on IG that
he was doing the walkout, and him and his whole entourage that were coming out were all smoking cigars. I'm like, what is he smoking? And I kind of zoomed in, and it was like he was smoking Padron Anniversaries. But you did a whole thing because this is new since the last time we talked.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So talk about
that
was
really
cool.
That was really cool. So
that went viral, literally. So
yeah, I mean, so I was doing an event back in 2022 in Houston, Texas, and in the event that I was doing it was at a really cool store. I'm trying to like remember the name. Maybe I'll find it and put it on the thread or something.
Stogies?
No, it was over
Jorge's
there.
place?
No, it wasn't Stogies. Although I love Stogies. This was over by the stadium where the Texans play. Near there, at huge store, impressive store. Where they have like the walk-in humidor. It's all humidified space. You know, almost like you're in a library. Stacks. And then they have like the register and a plexiglass, and the other side of the plexiglass, they had a lounge where it was packed. And I went in there and started talking to people and like telling them about our cigars because they were, very new at the time. And then there were people saying, "Where are you from?" I said Nashville. And then they go, "Well, Tennessee, Alabama's coming up in like a couple weeks, or next week." It might have been at that time. And he said, "Well, the big tradition around there is the winner immediately lights up cigars, and it's called the cigar game." Now, the reason why it wasn't on my radar is that like Tennessee had lost like 15 in a row to Alabama, but they were saying, "Oh yeah, the retailer in Alabama, it's like his biggest day of the year, bigger than like Christmas."
Mm.
And so like he apparently sells out of cigars, people just buying them to smoke after the cigar game. And then it ended up that like La Flor Dominicana was making these special limited edition cigars just for that retailer to sell,
Right.
like for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a 10 to 12 count box that they had like an artistic like football for the wrap. Let's say it's like a, Connecticut wrapper, but they'll put
And
like
a little cutout of the
a
football on
football, like tobacco leaf football that they
Right.
would put in the center of the cigar, and they would sell out of it. And so then, but then I came back into town and I called a buddy of mine who had played for UT, and also he played when Peyton Manning was playing. He blocked for Peyton Manning.
That's pretty cool.
And then he's gotten very involved in like the Music City Bowl here, and he's on the board of UT athletic department.
Mm-hmm.
And his son, his name is Brad Lampley, and his son was playing for UT.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing
O-line.
for UT now, like
Right.
O-line,
Yeah, big
O-line, special teams.
Went
that
to
kind
school
of
with my
thing.
kid.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, went to school with Liam.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Liam knew.
So I called him up and I said, "What are they going to do if they win?" And he said, "Well, I know the equipment manager. Let me call him." And he called me back and he said, they have no idea. It didn't even occur to them, because they had a good chance of winning that year because, Tennessee was good. That's when they had Heupel. And they said, "We don't know what to do. Where should we go to buy the cigars?" And the game was about to happen. I said, "How many cigars you need?" They said, "We need, 100 or 110 or something."
Mhm.
So I just sent them the cigars. It was Bosphorus, like B55s. And then they won with that like last second field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the locker room, they were all smoking our cigars. So then like this year I was like, okay, well, they were playing in Tennessee again. Like, what can we do to kind of, I have a really good relationship with Lido. I love Lido. So I didn't want to do anything that would be infringing on like what they do for
Yeah,
the Alabama game, but I wanted to do something for Tennessee's side.
that makes sense because we're
So,
here in Nashville. So
Yeah. So then I said, we are, and most of these people that are going to be smoking cigars, that might be the only time of the year they're smoking cigars. So let's make the blend, let's make it milder. We already had Forsat that was out there. So we're like, all right, let's just make a special size of that, which was a 56 ring gauge. And then let's put a, checkerboard on as a footband.
Right.
So we did that. And then, we did like 300 boxes, which, our salesman, Andy, for the area, like he sold them out immediately. And he was like, probably should have done like triple the amount,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And then I realized, oh, shit, I don't have any for the locker room. So then we had to get the factory to send like bundles because we were out of boxes. And then I sent those to the locker room. And then my friend delivered them to the locker room before the game, and then after the game they were all smoking that cigars. But then on national TV there was a young man
That was the one
who
that
was
stuck.
lighting up the cigar.
ESPN put it out on social media. Yeah.
He was lighting up the cigar with the footband, and I'm like, he's gonna burn down the stadium.
Yeah, it was like it became like a meme. It was like how to say you don't know how to smoke a cigar without saying I don't smoke cigars or something like that. And the guy's like lighting up with the whole foot ribbon thing on the footband. That was pretty fun.
But then somehow we got, Cole, all these images of the players in the locker room smoking cigars. You remember that? I don't know who sent us that or how we got. Did you find them?
Somebody
Yeah,
shot them.
I basically just stole from the UT football,
From-
like Instagram or
That was brilliant.
yeah. I literally
Yeah.
looked up all the tags and then just like I have my own ways of getting all.
That was
the
tremendous. So
Yeah, that
like
was
if
good.
you go to like our Instagram page, like at Oz Family Cigars, you'll see that there's a reel there of all these players like smoking the cigars, like those specific cigars in the locker room. That was amazing. And I got some photos too from somebody, or maybe you found them, or like maybe my Brad sent them to me or something.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on it. I was like,
Yeah, that was
I really
amazing.
like little
Incredible.
stuff,
Oh, incredible, incredible.
That was fun.
So
Fun
yeah,
stuff.
so then actually it was good because a lot of the retailers there, they like all got amped about it.
Yeah, do it
And
again.
they had people that came to this. They were consumers were like calling stores and trying to find them, and then it was amazing. I mean, there was one store that I went to do an event, and she was limiting it, like 2 per customer. Yeah, and she had a whole list of people that wanted them, and she had like decent backstock and
Yeah.
sold out of them. And then I don't know. That was really interesting.
That was fun. That was fun to watch that.
Yeah.
It was cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So
So a lot of new stuff. What are we at?
We're at
30?
minutes.
that's good.
Really?
We had a lot to catch up on.
Oh, damn. Okay, cool. All right. Shoot. Let's go smoke some more new cigars or whatever. Should we
Yeah,
talk?
yeah,
We
yeah.
want to talk about what's coming up for 2025 yet. I think we'll save that one.
You want a future pass?
Yeah. So, because there's some stuff cooking. Definitely something stuff cooking.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Are you here?
That's next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely here. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to get through today. I'm not even thinking about Thanksgiving, to be honest with you.
Hey, do you cook
Me personally,
for Thanksgiving?
no.
No.
You don't want me to cook anything, dude. I can make
People
pasta
are really
and
into
tuna
cooking
sandwiches.
too. When I
My
talk to
wife, God bless, or I'm not just saying this, but because she's never going to watch this anyway, so she won't hear it. But she's a great cook. So she does 95% of everything.
she does the turkey
turkey, all the side dishes
in the oven. She does the turkey.
the whole thing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that I talk to when I do events in the cigar world that are really also like really into cooking, which
Mhm.
I appreciate. And so a lot of people have like brine recommendations that they give. They're always awesome. in ways
You
to
know what?
cook
If I
it
could
and
just
stuff
fast
like
forward
that.
the whole thing to the day after, where you make sandwiches, that's all I want. I just want a good turkey sandwich and some white
Yeah.
bread and some chips, and I'm good. I could, you know, if you think about it, like how often do you eat turkey with all these other foods that are specific to Thanksgiving? It's just a weird thing.
No,
know
but
what I
you
mean?
just like eat turkey like
I like
on a
turkey
sandwich
sandwiches.
on a sandwich
That's
during
the
the
best.
course of the year is the only time that you
That's
eat
it.
turkey.
That's
you know,
it. Nobody would
really.
cook a turkey.
But yeah, you're not going to cook a turkey. But for Thanksgiving, you're going to cook. But now I found that like I like it when they're spatchcocked or butterfly.
I have no idea what that means.
Spatchcock means you take out the backbone and then you spread it. And so then I have a pellet grill, so I'll put it on the pellet grill after I've
That sounds like
after
a lot of
I've-
work.
after I've brined them, which I've found some great brining recipes and recommendations for cigar enthusiasts. Thank you very much for those. And then I'll put a rub over. So now I found that like if you get a smaller turkey, like 12 to 14 pounds,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they operate better under that. They're not as dry after you do all that. So I'm gonna do like I've got relatives
People
coming
get
into
into
town.
that
So
stuff. I'm sure like our group
I'm gonna
text,
do
the whole
2 of
Oz
them.
Heads group text will be pinging constantly with like Brian McGee. I deep fried this one in chocolate
yeah, I would
batter
love
or
to hear
something.
if people have like brine recommendations or cooking recommendations for turkey. Then please send them our way because I will read them and use them.
Do you like mayo or what on your sandwich? That's all I care about. I forget the brining thing.
spicy mayo?
Do you spatchcock your sandwich or not? That's
Yeah, right. Spatchcock chicken is good too. That's a
I've
whole
never,
other
that's,
thing.
that's all new to me.
You learn something new. every day.
Totally. All right, we'll call it. So until the next one, keep smoking Crown Heads, keep smoking Oz Family cigars. We'll catch you on 21.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Cheers.